Hey viewers and friends, Andrew back again and welcome to another slasher review, and today I'm going to be reviewing two movies, Hatchet and Hatchet 2. Now I did do a previous video about 5 or 6 months ago, I think it was, on Hatchet and just what I thought of it. I did rewatch it over the weekend and my opinions have changed quite a lot. I also viewed Hatchet 2 for the first time over the weekend, so I thought, you know, for a really fun slasher review, I will be reviewing both movies. So we'll start with the first Hatchet. So yeah, you know, anyone that's viewed my previous video discussing this movie, I didn't really review it, more of sort of a discussion, will know that I really didn't care for this movie upon first viewing. Well, I decided to sit down and give it another viewing over the weekend, and yeah, my opinions have changed a lot, so I wanted to do another fresh review on it. So I'm sure everyone's seen it. For those who don't, this is basically a modern slasher. It's a modern take on the 80s slashers, so it's a throwback, and yeah, it's a lot like the Friday the 13th series. So this one centers around a group of people who are going on a tour boat cruise through the Louisiana Bayou or the swamp, as sort of like a Halloween tour. The sort of main character is Mary Beth, who's basically gone on this tour to try and find out what's happened to her brother and her father, who went out a couple of days prior to her being on the tour. They went out crocodile hunting, and they haven't returned, so you know, she thinks they're dead. There's like a whole sort of myth and story about a killer called Victor Crowley, who is apparently, his ghost remains wandering around these swamps, and you know, she thinks that Victor Crowley's killed the brother and the father, so the story sort of revolves mostly around her and these other group on the tour boat cruise. And yeah, that's pretty much the main storyline. I don't want to give too much more away. I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen it, but that's the main sort of storyline. So they're going along this cruise. Oh, and by the way, the father of Mary Beth is played by Robert Englund. He's not in the movie too much, just plays a brief cameo in the start of the movie, but you know, it's always good to have these older horror icons in some of the more recent horror movies. So, you know, for his character, he did a good job. But yeah, so that's the sort of storyline. And anyway, the tour group arrive in the swamp. You know, they're going through the swamp on a boat. Their boat gets stuck on a rock and breaks down, so they all have to make a run for it to the land, and of course they slowly get picked off one by one by Victor Crowley. So the story goes on. Mary Beth discovers that the father and her brother have been killed, and it's basically up to her to, you know, stop Victor Crowley, the big sort of showdown at the end. This movie does remind me a lot of Friday the 13th, right from sort of the overall characters. It's sort of got a similar setting, although Friday the 13th set sort of in a wooded camp area, this one's set in a wooded swamp area, and even the ending reminded me a lot of Friday the 13th. So after rewatching this movie, I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more. I wouldn't say it is anything utterly amazing, but it is a very, very good modern slasher movie, and I definitely enjoyed it a hell of a lot more upon second viewing. I didn't really notice the blood and gore splatter on the trees as much as I did in my previous video. You know, that was one of my biggest complaints. That didn't bother me at all in this one. In fact, I enjoyed the kills a hell of a lot more this time around, and yeah, just had a ton of fun with this one. So I would now give this a solid 3 out of 5. Yes, I do kind of still think this is overrated slightly, but still upon second viewing I really, really enjoyed it a lot more. So that's the first Hatchet. And now on to the second Hatchet. So this one follows directly after the first movie. The ending of the first movie carries over to the beginning of this one. There's a whole new bunch of characters in this one, including Mary Beth, who is played by Danielle Harris in this one. Personally, I think Danielle Harris was excellent in this one, and she did a much better job as Mary Beth as the character who played her in the first one. It also has a lot of other different characters in this one, because I mean all of the tour party got killed off in the first one, so of course there's all different characters. Tony Todd, who plays Reverend Zombie, he was in the first one briefly. He plays a pretty big role in this one. You know, he was in Candyman. There's also Tom Holland, who directed Child's Play. He plays Mary Beth's Uncle Bob. He was awesome in this one, great character. And another one of my favourite characters was John, played by Rick McCallum. He hasn't been in too many movies, but he's done a lot of stunt work for some horror movies. And I also think he was the stunt double for Captain Spaulding in The Devil's Rejects. I don't know why, I just enjoyed his character. I definitely enjoyed his kill with the chainsaw, that was excellent. But overall, I preferred the more sort of mature cast and characters in this one, which is something you don't really normally see in a slasher movie. You know, a lot of them are sort of teenagers or young adults, but you know, just sort of the different character style in this one. They went with more of a mature cast, which, you know, I think paid off, and I enjoyed it a lot more. So the storyline with this one, as I said before, follows directly from the first one. So, you know, in the first one, Mary Beth discovered that Victor Crowley had killed her brother and her father. So in this one, she's wanting to go back to the swamp and collect her brother and father's remains. To do that, she needs to get a group together, so she organises Reverend Zombie to get all his hunter mates together, and they go off and basically try and hunt down Victor Crowley. And then of course Uncle Bob is going along with Mary Beth to look after her. So that's pretty much the overall gist of the storyline. It is very, very similar to the first one. However, I thought the story was a lot better. There's a lot more backstory to this one with all the characters, especially Victor Crowley. And I just, yeah, enjoyed the storyline a lot more. The kills in this were fucking amazing, 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 amazing. I absolutely loved the kills. The body count pretty much tripled from the first one. I think there was something like about 17 or 18 kills in this one, maybe a couple more, but yeah, the kills and gore were so much better in this one than the first one. They definitely upped the ante, and yeah, it really, really paid off. I don't think there was one kill that I didn't enjoy. There were some awesome ones to do with an intestine strangling. That was awesome. Then there was another one with the chainsaw, which I mentioned before. That was really, really good. Possibly a little bit too over the top and a little bit too drawn out. But other than that, I really thought the chainsaw death was excellent. And then there was another awesome one with a head decapitation to do with a table. That was a lot of fun too. So yeah, I enjoyed this one way, way more than the first one, which really, really did surprise me. Considering I thought the first one was, I think the first one's really good now, but nothing utterly amazing. But to me, this is really, really amazing and awesome, and it's definitely one of my favourite modern slashers, if not my favourite modern slasher now. And it's definitely in my, maybe my top 10, but most definitely top 20 slashers of all time. And yeah, after seeing this one, I'm even more pumped for Hatchet 3. The other thing about this movie is I thought Victor Crowley looked a lot better in this one than the first one. But yeah, you know, Hatchet 2, really, really good. Well, fucking amazing actually. And Hatchet was good. So, as I said before, I give Hatchet a 3 out of 5. And I give Hatchet 2 a 4.5 out of 5. I loved it that much. I really do think that Hatchet can become a great franchise. In my opinion, if they make this into a franchise and a series, pretty much in my opinion, this is the modern day Friday the 13th. And yeah, so far it's shaping up to be pretty similar to Friday the 13th. I mean, the original Friday the 13th movie is good, but in my opinion, and like so many other people think, the sequels are so much better, and Hatchet is shaping up the same way. I mean, the original one was really good, but Hatchet 2 was way, way better in my opinion. So definitely looking forward to Hatchet 3, and yeah, I hope they do a lot with this franchise and turn it into a proper modern slasher franchise. We definitely need one of those, and I definitely think the Hatchet series has got the goods to deliver. So that is my double review for Hatchet and Hatchet 2. I'm sure everyone's seen these movies. If you haven't, please, please, please check them out, especially if you're a slasher fan. And in my opinion, a few people have sort of been asking me for recommendations. A few people that view my channel and that I know here on YouTube are wanting to get into the slasher genre. These are definitely two movies that I think are perfect for anyone that is wanting to get into the slasher genre. I mean, they've got that modern, they're modern, but then they've got the good old throwback to the 80s style, and the gore and kills are amazing. Definitely some of the best kills, if not, no, not probably the best, they are the best kills in a modern slasher. So yeah, thanks for watching my review of Hatchet and Hatchet 2.